globalization, industry-based competency. Honorable Professor Dr. Arif Satria, Rector of IPB University, Professor Dr. Iskandar Zulkarnain Siregar, Director of International Collaboration Office, IPB University, Dr. Alim Setiawan, Directorate of Student Affairs, IPB University, Dr. Arif Daryanto, the Dean of SV-IPB, College of Vocational Studies of IPB University, Dr. Wawan Oktariza, Dr. Bagus Purwanto, Vice Dean of SV-IPB, Dr. Desi Tambajong, Senate of Academic SV-IPB, international speakers, Mr. Ernst Bettler and Mr. Dan Westrik from IRIS University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, university partners from Melbourne Polytechnic, Australia, Van Halarenstein, University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, Tarlac University, the Philippines, Jerantut Polytechnic, Malaysia, National Taiwan University, Politeknik Pembangunan Pertanian, dan Sekolah Tinggi Perikanan Indonesia. Distinguished participants, lecturers, students around the world. In the time of the pandemic, the summer course program consists of 4 international webinars from academia and the industries, lectures, discussion, virtual field trips, cultural extension, international competition, and many more. This summer course program to bring together academia, industries, and students from Indonesia and partner university from other countries. It provides a great opportunity for prospective participants to learn and to share the experiences in dealing with the quality improvement of animal and fish production to face globalization. Also, it is expected to learn how vocational education take a role through improving human resources by applying industry-based curricula. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the agenda. First, we will have opening speech from the Dean of IPB College of Vocational Study, Dr. Arif Daryanto. And then we'll also have opening speech from Rector IPB University, Professor Arif Satria, and also opening ceremony from Professor Arif Satria. Then we'll have the main session. We'll have the speaker from the Netherlands, Ernst Bettler, moderated by University, Head of Study Program, Technology and Management of Livestock. Then we will continue with discussion and then closing. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Dean of College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Arif Daryanto. Dr. Arif, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good afternoon, because we do have different times so far. Honorable Professor Arif Satria, Rector of IPB University, Dr. Bagus Purwanto, and Dr. Wawan Oktariza, Vice Dean, College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, Professor Iskandar Siregar, Director of International Collaboration Office, IPB University, Dr. Alim Setiawan, Directorate of Student Affairs, Ditmawa, IPB University. International speakers, Mr. Ernst Bettler and also Mr. Dan Westrik from IRIS, University of Applied Science, Netherlands. University partners from Melbourne Polytechnic, Australia, Van Halarenstein, Netherlands, Tarlac University of Philippines, Jerantut Polytechnic, Malaysia, National Taiwan University, Politeknik Pembangunan Pertanian, and Sekolah Tinggi Perikanan Indonesia. Distinguished participant, lecturers, scientists, students in Asia, Australia, and Europe. So far, there are 550 participants joining the webinar. First of all, let's thank Allah SWT who has been giving us some mercies and blessings so that we can attend this seminar in a good health. Welcome to the international webinar organized by College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. This is part of the summer course agenda with the brought to share their knowledge and experience, as well as to have an international cultural exchange. I would like to take this opportunity to express my deep appreciation to Rector of IPB University for giving his opening speech and to open formally the summer course. Mr. Dan Wertrik and also Ernst Peter from RS University of Applied Science Netherlands and Dr. Sanmugan Novelipan from Nghi Polytechnic Singapore for being keynote speakers for our summer programs. From the industry side, I would like to express my gratitude to Charun Pokpan Indonesia, Nudira Farm, PT Suritani Pemuka, Java Aquaculture, and Chimori for their support in making this program more attractive and more practical or applied oriented. I would like also to thank to Director IPB and also the International Collaboration Office, ICO-IPB, and Directorate Student Affairs, Ditmawa, IPB University for their funding, and to the summer course organizing committee whose members have worked together and be engaged to make this program successfully. Pak Rector, last year we had the first summer course program in Bogor for 3 weeks. The program ran successfully and has been conducting international collaboration and student networking, and also initiated the joint curriculum between College of Vocational Studies, IPB, and also university partners, Melbourne Polytechnic Australia, Van Hol Larenstein Netherlands, Holbangtan Bogor, and also Southeast Asia TIFET university partners. However, due to the pandemic COVID-19 this year, the course have changed and delivered some teaching and learning contents online. I hope this situation does not prevent us from continuing exploring the knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, the agri-food complex comprises many economic sectors and actors. They are related to the primary sectors: consumer, retailers, processing industry, finance, logistic, R&D, societal, and also sectoral organization, and so on. And last but not least, education sector. The agri-food complex is faced with the need for process, product, function, channel, and intersectoral upgrading. The rapidly changing society needs workers in the agriculture and food sector who have developed a broad knowledge base and a variety of skills. Content and learning teaching approach need to be updated regularly. Education in food and agriculture, especially in higher vocational education, must meet the requirement for the labor market, link and match. Food and agriculture education needs to be improve its attractiveness for students. As has been the case in the Netherlands, the main success element in the growth of vocational education program may be pointed to as 3 CO goals: close consultation, the first on educational needs and certification by authorities. The second co is co-education by companies, and the third co is co-entrepreneurships by educators. In higher terminology, this is triple helix concept for the agriculture vocational education. So that's why our webinar entitled Demand-Driven Curriculum in Higher Vocational Studies. This seminar today will discuss the experience of higher education in the Netherlands and also developing countries in adopting a demand-driven approach for their curricula in food and agriculture sectors. This webinar is an opening from a whole summer course program. During the summer course program, I hope you will have productive days of interesting and stimulating discussion. I sincerely wish this summer course program a great success, not only as a chance to share professional knowledge exchange, but also as the beginning of long and fruitful cooperation, collaboration, insight, and friendship among students and their university partners. Enjoy the program. Thank you for your attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Arif, for the opening speech. Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Now we are going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Rector of IPB University, and afterward, we would like to request the Rector to officially open the webinar and the second summer course on sustainability of tropical animal production. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Arif Satria. Professor Arif Satria, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Siang
wabarakatuh.
kalian, good afternoon and good morning, our colleagues.
Jadi ini sebetulnya sedikit saja nanti apa ya dorongan leverage yang kita berikan. Mudah-mudahan.
Honorable Dr. Arif Daryanto as the Dean College of Vocational Studies IPB University and the Vice Deans, Director of International Collaboration and Director of Student Affairs IPB University, Prof. Iskandar and Prof. Alim, international speakers, Mr. Ernst Beitler and Mr. Dan Westrich from IRS University and Applied Science, Netherlands, University partner from Melbourne Polytechnic, Australia, Van Hal Larenstein, Netherlands, Tarlac University, Philippines, Cirantuk Polytechnic, Malaysia, National Taiwan University, Director of Polytechnic Pembangunan Pertanian, Director of Sekolah Tinggi Pertanian, Chairman of Organizing Committee and student delegates of Summer Course Program in Asia, Australia, and Europe. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you at the second summer course on sustainability of tropical animal production, integrated with the international webinar with the topic Demand-Driven Curricula for Higher Vocational Education. Welcome to Rain City Bogor. This program is organized by College of Vocational Studies IPB University, which is designed for students around the world, not only to enrich academic profile and personal development, but also to improve their abilities in the global competition. Ladies and gentlemen, from the perspective of education, IPB University always updates and harmonizes the content of lectures in order to support the vision of IPB University. We need to translate this vision into something more detailed, within the institutions, lectures, curricula, research, and outreach program. The implementation of the great vision of IPB really needs to be done as an effort to welcome the development of technology and industry 4.0. And the industrial revolution 4.0 is not only talking about the technology 4.0, which is consists of drones, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things, robotics, but also about evolution 4.0, which is matter of changing mindset, a matter of changing ways of thinking, ways of behaving, including leadership. And therefore, a summer program at IPB University is a good opportunity to gain a new perspective which offers the best of both worlds, academic enrichment against a backdrop of new cultures, language, and communities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now absolutely essential to equip the young people with creativity, critical thinking, and knowledge to help them fully live up to their potential and enhance their employability by providing decent jobs. It is not only crucial for our achieving national development, but also for the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The future jobs, a report published by the World Economic Forum, predicts that the fourth industrial revolution will create 2.1 million new jobs across 15 countries from both developed and emerging economies. But at the same time, 7.1 million jobs will be lost. Now, the evidence is clear that young people must be equipped with a more flexible, innovative, and specialist skill set to help them navigate through the new economy. The new IPB University curriculum, we have the new curriculum with that will be established in coming months, in coming August. This curriculum offers our diploma, undergraduate, and graduate students to advance their employability by providing both academic and work-related experience. Business and community should also support to provide more demand-driven learning. The triple helix actors like universities, governments, business, as well as community must work together to innovate the way we educate students to become the next game changers. This year, Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, IPB University made impressive progress in the world university rankings. IPB University has shown as the world-class university by improving its strong position in global rankings, because IPB University has reached top 530 in the QS World University Ranking, recently released in the beginning of June 2020. And this year's rank of IPB University is an increase of around 100 spots from its prior position last year. Last year, our position is around 600. And QS World University Ranking is one of the most referred to the ranking system of the world universities, including Indonesia. And the QS World University Ranking by subject on agriculture and forestry 2020 placed IPB University in the top 60 in the world, which is named top 10 in the Asia region, after other universities from China, from Japan, and from South Korea. And based on other ranking system like Time Higher Education, University Impact, now our positions in the number of 77, including in top 100 university. Ladies and gentlemen, by adjusting the lecture contents with current technological and industrial developments, link and match between the university and industrial world, we can bring an industrial atmosphere at the summer study program. Therefore, the summer study program need to be done since it offers opportunities to the participants to discover different subjects. Not only will this round out your resume, but it also offers personal enrichment. To conclude my remarks, I wish all participants have a fruitful summer course, summer program, and I encourage you all to use this opportunity to establish a common understanding of the issue of at hand, to initiate activities in line with an effective strategy for the implementation of higher vocational education. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the Dean of Vocational College, IPB University, and the organizing committee for their hard work so that this event can run well. By saying Basmalah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I officially open the second summer course program on sustainability of tropical animal production. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof. Arif Satria, for the opening remarks. We are now continuing our webinar to the next agenda, which is to hear representations which will be delivered by Mr. Ernst and Mr. Dan from IRS University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands. The webinar will be moderated by Mrs. Yuni Resti, Head of Study Program Technology and Management of Livestock, Sekolah Vokasi, IPB University. Before we start, let me read her CV. Her education background was from IPB University, Animal Production and Technology for bachelor degree, and for master degree, she was from Van Hallerstein University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, with the subject agricultural production chain management, livestock chain specialization, Master of Science. She is a lecturer and also head of study program technology and management of livestock, Sekolah Vokasi, IPB University. In November 2019 and January 2020, together with IRS University of Applied Sciences and Kupang State Agricultural Polytechnic Indonesia, conducted a tailor-made training development of the dairy value chain in Indonesia through enhanced capacity of lecturers participated as country coordinator. She is now doing research entitled COVID-19 and its effect on food supply in Indonesia, supported by Maastricht School of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Yuni Resti. Mrs. Yuni Resti, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Bapak Priya, for the time opportunities to me. His Excellency Professor Dr. Arif Satria is the Rector of IPB University, respectable Dean of College of Vocational Studies, IPB University, Dr. Arif Daryanto, MEC, Director of International Collaboration Office, IPB University, Professor Dr. Iskandar Z. Siregar, M4SC, Directorate of Students Ever, Ditmawa, IPB University, Dr. Alim Setiawan, MSc. Vice Dean of SV-IPB, Dr. Wawan Oktariza and Dr. Bagus Priyo Purwanto, and then Stats of Academic SV University, Dr. Daisy Tambajong. The honorable speakers, Ernst Bettler, MSc, and Dan Westrik, MSc from Iris University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, university partners from Melbourne Polytechnic, Australia, Van Hal Larenstein University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, Talak University of Philippines, Jerantut Polytechnic Malaysia, National Taiwan University, Polytechnic Pembangunan Pertanian, and Sekolah Tinggi Perikanan. Distinguished guests and the honorable participant of this webinar, thank you very much for preparing yourself to join our webinar. It's fantastic that we have more than 700 participants from all over the world. I am Yuni Resti, and I will be serving you as your moderator today. I am very pleased to see you here. Welcome to webinar series entitled Demand-Driven Curricula for Higher Vocational Education. This webinar is part of the second summer course on sustainable of and tropical productions organized by College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. We would also like to thank to the International Collaboration Office and Directorate of Students Affairs, IPB University, for sponsoring our webinar and subcourse. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the presentations, I would like to inform you the sequence of our webinar. This webinar is divided into 3 sessions. The first sessions will be opening and introduction of the speakers by the moderator now. And then the second will be the presentations that will be presented by 2 speakers, Mr. Ernst Bettler and then Mr. Dan Westrik, Master of Science from Iris University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands. And after that, we will continue our webinar by doing discussions. And now, before the presentation begins, allow me to introduce our speakers today. The first speakers will be Mr. Ernst Bettler. He is a senior poultry scientist, the trainers, educations, and an educator of 30 years experience in international poultry and animal science. He completes Bachelor of Science in Animal Science and BSc Knowledge Management and Education in the Netherlands, and finished Master of Science of Applied Poultry Science from Glasgow University, Scotland. In a training career spanning more than 3 decades, Mr. Ernst Bettler has trained and taught thousands of certificates and diploma holders from all over the world. He is a very important consultant of the Dutch and international poultry industry, and in that capacity has an extensive network internationally operating poultry nutrition and animal feed production students, especially for BSc level at Iris University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands. He also experiences in project management and baseline studies of and professional experience abroad since 1994 internationally. And the second will be Mr. Dan Westrik. He graduated from Maastricht University, the Netherlands, for his Master of Science, and then he also graduated from Drontheim University of Applied Sciences, specialization of livestock science for his bachelor. He is a senior university lecturer on livestock husbandry at the Ares Group University of Applied Sciences. His academic specialization is in evidence-based innovation in teaching, a field to which he has developed for 18 years of professional involvement with the BSc and the TFET programs at Ares. Okay, and now let me invite Mr. Ernst Bettler to present his presentations. Mr. Ernst, the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. I want to use my presentation. So should I share my screen?
Yes,
I think,
please.
yes.
Yeah, everybody is able to see the screen.
Yes.
Yes. But okay.
Yeah, okay.
Aku selalu nggak bisa loh, layarnya hilang-hilang terus.
Perfect.
Everybody is going to can see it now.
Yes.
Okay, so let me start. My presentation is called The Future of Global Poultry Sector. And why the future? Because we have a competence-based curricula, and of course it should fit with a job that young people will get after they graduated from polytechnic or universities in the sector. So, and I'm a poultry specialist, so that's why I look at the global poultry challenges and opportunities and competence required. The second one we have seen, because that is personal information we have seen, although maybe it is good to have a look. I've been to several countries where I did a lot of training programs on poultry and on animal feed. So I'm also specialized in animal feed production. Now, what is the future? The future of global poultry. You can see here, first of all, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the world population growth, because that is something that we need to see in the light of the poultry production. I want to have a look at the demand for animal proteins, because poultry protein, I mean eggs and meat, is part of the animal protein carrying capacity of the earth. So what, because it should be a sustainable production, that is why I also look at the capacity of the earth. And I want to show also the poultry production in the Netherlands, and maybe even compare it with Indonesia or with other countries. So more or less, how can we meet the growing demand? What are the challenges, and are there solutions, or what are the solutions? Now, this presentation, it focused more on poultry, Southeast Asia, and the Netherlands. Production dynamics, so what are the dynamics of production, global challenges and opportunities, and what are the competencies required for SMK and polytechnic graduate? And what is a competence? A competence is a combination of skills, knowledge, and attitude. Now, how can we feed the world in 2050 if the available agricultural land per person reduces by half? Now, if you go to this website, yeah, then you can see at the moment how many people are living in the world. I don't want to do it now because I don't want to disconnect and connect again. So, but here you can see how many it is counting every time, the number of people that are in the world and what are we heading. In 2020, where we are now, the population, they predicted in 2010, they predicted that we would have 700 million people plus. So that means 6.9 to 7.6 billion. And 88% will happen in Asia and Africa. So the population growth in Europe will be not that much. So that is good to keep in mind, because where the population will grow, there also the food will be needed, and more land will be needed. That is one thing. At the moment, we are at 7.7 billion. So we exceeded even at that moment that they predicted at 2010, they predicted 7.6, but we are at the moment at 7.7 billion. So we have more people than they expected. And look at another thing, the urbanization. They said it would grow from 3.3 to 4.3 billion. So plus 1 billion people. That means more people are living not at the countryside, not in the rural areas, but they are living in the town. So that also means that towns are growing bigger, yeah? Cities are growing bigger, and more food has to be brought. Now here the purchasing power growth will grow also. So that means it is here in US dollars, but it will grow. So that means that people are going to spend more money. If they spend more money, they spend more money on also on animal protein. So that also means that if people are getting more money, more income, they also want to buy more valuable products. And more valuable products, now first, everybody who is in the poultry business knows that poultry products are most of the times cheap products that can be bought, like eggs and meat can be bought. If they can buy meat, they can buy poultry. Now look here at the world population forecast. I made a print of the website. The forecast at the 2050 is 9.7 billion. Billion. So that means that we really need to do something, because now the population is 7.7, as you can see. You see the urbanization goes also up. So this one, the urbanization population also goes up. Look at the population 56.2 in 2020, but it goes to 68.6. So more people will go to urban areas. Look at the number. So that also needs to be taken in account. Now, another fact is that what do we need for that? Yeah. So the world water need will grow by 15% over the next 10 years. That is what they said in 2010, heading 2020, where we are now. So water is a very important element. If you look at poultry meat exists for about 70% of water. So that, and water intake in chickens, maybe it's not the highest of all livestock, but it's very, very important. If you look here at the arable land for availability for agriculture is declining. So that means maybe that we have to intensify production. It also could mean that at least we have to make a choice. Yeah, the area will not increase unless we do like in the Netherlands. We take some land, we put dikes around it, and we take the water out, and we have a little bit more land, but it's very expensive. So I wouldn't recommend. So the area will not expand. So, but you can see here the sources of growth in crop production to meet global food needs by 2050. Yields need to increase by 77%, crop intensity 40%, and the area expansion 9%. You see, so yeah, the world primary energy will grow up by 20%. So also that we need to take into account if we are looking at the future of livestock production globally. Now, here is a map of the water stress by country in 2040. And you can see here extremely high and medium to high, low to medium and low. And you can see that a lot of areas, without that I want to focus on a certain area now, but you can see that extremely high will go up to a number of regions. And even medium to high, you look at Europe, in some places in Europe, we go already to medium to high. So that means all by climate change, we have to think of how to keep, and I'm talking about poultry, how to keep the poultry, because maybe initially you can do with open houses, but maybe you have to go to closed houses. Maybe you even have to change to other breeds, maybe slow growing breeds instead of fast growing breeds because of temperature increase and water scarcity. So that is also something we have to keep in mind. Another one is the meat consumption, because the meat consumption, yeah, the growth of 54 megaton is projected by 2020 and predominantly in Asia. But look at the meat production of the meat consumption. The meat consumption in Asia and the Pacific is already very high. Europe is also 7%. others 4%, Africa 7%, Latin America and the Caribbean 18%, and North America also 8%. But you can see here that the major part of the meat consumption is in Asia and the Pacific. Another one, if you look at something is happening in my screen, but anyway, if you look at this one, the meat consumption here, the meat consumption, then you can see that here the meat consumption in kilograms per person per year, and then this is poultry, pork, sheep, and beef. You can see that the consumption also here in different parts of the world. You can see that if this is also predicted for 2027, so 2027, and this is the European Union, and this is 2015 to 2017. You can here see that also in Europe, yeah, it will not increase so much. North America will increase a bit, yeah, and some other countries like Africa, continent Africa, it will not increase so much. But in the world, Asia and the Pacific will increase some. Yeah, you can see here in the world, but in the world it's increasing. So it is important to keep in mind that it is increasing, and especially poultry. Look at poultry here, poultry is increasing a lot. Something is happening in my screen, but I'm not sure. The world production of main categories of meat since 1961. You can see here that the beef has doubled. Beef has doubled here. Yeah, beef has doubled. If you look at sheep, goat, also doubled. If you look at pigs, it is fourfold, so since 1961. But if you look at poultry, and I'm happy to work with chickens, then you can see here that poultry is eightfold. Yeah. So here you can see that poultry is eightfold, and the world poultry meat production is 97 to 1,000 metric tons annually. Now, in pork and cattle, you can read in 2019. So important is to remember that the meat production, and especially if you look at poultry, then poultry is of course a species that uses little feed for fast growth. Pigs is already the FCR, feed conversion, already a little bit higher. And if you look at cattle, it's much higher than in poultry. So maybe the future will be more maybe in poultry than in other livestock. But it's depending, of course, we are going to more in depth. Now, meat production by livestock, here you can see poultry will increase a lot. Pig meat will also increase, but poultry is really growing very, very fast, 2018, but in future it will grow really fast. Yeah. So here you can see the pig meat, and here you can see the other beef and buffalo, and the sheep and goat, and so on. Yeah. Now look at the quantity. The global animal production, because we have to prepare our students, our graduates on the future, and what will be the future between 2005 and 2050 predicted. You can see that the chickens will grow with 121%. Yeah. Eggs will grow with 65%, so it will increase the production. Goat 92%, milk 62%, beef 66%, and okay. Something is happening with my screen.
Yes. Maybe we can.
Yeah, I'm there again.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. And pigs with 43%. Okay, so then the feed uses, because feed is also important. If you want to keep chicken, and you are livestock in general, you need feed. And feed is important, of course, and global feed sources for poultry, because I'm talking more about poultry. You can see that we need a lot of cereals, a lot of grain, which is also competitive with human consumption. So also there we need to take in account what is happening in the world, because if the population is growing and we are going to intensify the poultry production, that also means that we need more grain. We need more oil seeds like soybean cake, soybean meal, that kind of products. So that is also important. Maybe we have to look at other sources. Yeah, you can see other eatable sources. Maybe this one we have to extend, and maybe the oil seed and the grain we have to remain like it is. Maybe we have to go more for bran. So we have to look at what can we do, and also poultry maybe poultry, and we can go for other things like I'm doing now research in insects. Yeah, maybe we need really to do to look for other feed sources. So we need to improve efficiency and reduce the cost price. Yeah, and we have to implement more balanced nutrition maybe, and improve quality control in the whole value chain. So not only in one part of the value chain, but the quality in the whole value chain to get more food security and maybe more advanced technology in feed. Reduce loss in feed and feed resources. At the moment we are, and that is worldwide, about 30% of the production that we have is lost. It's lost due to all kinds of reasons, but it is lost. So we can really look at that. Control of intestinal parasites, diseases. So that also means we can get better feed conversion rates. We use less feed. We have less diseases, less uses of all kinds of medication, and maybe tap new feed resources, like indeed insects in Europe, very popular at the moment to grow insects for chicken. Of course, we need to look at the sustainable goals. That's also part of our educational system. At the Eres University of Applied Sciences, we also made the choice to look at this sustainable development goals. So that when we are talking about poultry or livestock in general, we always look at what are the sustainable goals, because what in the introduction, it was already said, it needs to be sustainable. You cannot produce like in the older days when there was not so much livestock. Now, when we have a lot of livestock, and even in future we will have more, we have really to look at these sustainable goals. And then also quality education, but there are more, clean water and sanitation. So there are more things. But of course, first of all, we have to look at number one: no poverty, zero hunger, good wealth and well-being, that kind of thing, of course. And then education is also an important one. Now, then there is, of course, a genetic challenge, because the chicken of 20 years ago, I'm now already since 1984 in poultry, and I know that the chicken we had in 1984 is not the same one as we have in 2020. So also our management has to change. The management has to change, the approach has to change, and many things in poultry keeping is changing. For instance, in the Netherlands now, we are hatching a lot of broiler chickens in the house. We are not hatching it in a hatchery anymore, only the first 18 days. And then after 18 days, we transfer them to the broiler house and they are hatched in the house. So things are changing and breeds are changing. You can see here the broilers in 2010, and you can see the broilers now in 2020. And broilers can even grow more. Recently, they did research in broilers, and they found that they can grow even more than 85 grams, no problem, as long as you provide them with good, especially when they produce a lot of heat, when you provide them with chilling, then they can grow much more than 70. So I don't think that we are at the end of this. I mean, we always thought they cannot grow more, but they can grow more. I mean, we can see that there is always something that is happening. It will grow up. So here 59 grams, now 70 grams. You see, and here you can see that things can change. Also in cattle, you can see things are changing. In swine, also things are changing. But if you look at the genetic potential, then still are the limits there? No, I told you, I don't think that the limits are there. A long time I thought the limits were there, but no, they are not there. We can still achieve a better result. And look at genetic potential in Nutreco 2009, they said already in let's look at broiler here. In the broiler, you can see that although it is very small, but in broiler, you can see here that the animal performance, we are using about 70. Now, maybe the highest one is 80 because there is a little bit difference, of course, but 70% of the genetic potential we are using. and in pig it's even lower. So if we can use still 30%, and now if you go back to the last one, you can see that if we are using 70% only, and we can increase this one with 30%, that means that there is still a lot to gain. So genetically it can be done, but maybe in management we have to change things so that we can achieve also what is there. Yeah. So that means, so are there limits there? Now you can see in, yeah, and we always said, maybe we can do more with the same animal. So that makes it also more effective and more sustainable. But of course, the management should be right. Yesterday we have also observed a race of this one, this category of racing in Austria. Maybe some people have joined it, and they have seen that a lot of things can happen if you don't manage the car very well. The same applies to chicken. If you don't manage them well, you get accident. And then the accident means you have to treat them, or they die, or whatever. So important is that the management should be right to use the full potential. So if we can gain another, maybe not 30%, but another 20%, we can do a lot. So, and then we don't get these accidents, you see. Because also in layers, the same applies. You can see here that the layer can lay now 500 eggs in 100 weeks. Many farmers in the Netherlands and in Germany, they achieve it already. More than 500 eggs in 100 weeks. So that means it is more sustainable because the animal, you can keep the layer, you can keep much longer. You can keep it 100 weeks instead of 70 to 80 weeks. And you can have more eggs, so it is also profitable. So if you look at that point, but also the management should be different. The management is different. The rearing management is different. During the laying period, the management is different. So you cannot do the same like this local chicken here. If you treat it like a local chicken, you will never achieve this. So your management, your skills, your attitude, your whole management, your whole competence should be in that. Now, global egg production, also here you can see, I just want to show you 2030, you can see that also in Asia, we still expect the growth. Yeah? In Europe, we don't expect, you see. So I'm from the Netherlands, but we don't expect in Europe that it will grow. But in the global egg production, for sure, in Asia, it will grow. Africa, it will grow. But there are some countries, some continents where there is no growth expected, you see. So, of course, then still you need to produce sustainable and effective. Now, if you look at another thing, another challenge, because it was about challenges and opportunities, another challenge is, of course, the greenhouse gas emission. Very important. If you look at the greenhouse gas emission for poultry, then you can see that broilers are having 54 and layers 43. And backyard is very small, but the backyard keeping is also, the number in backyard keeping is also small. But look at here, East Asia, that's another challenge. You look here at East Asia, then you can see that the greenhouse gas emission for poultry by regions in East Asia is very, very high. So still, we also have to have the skills to reduce, maybe even the innovations to reduce, of course, the greenhouse gas emission. Now here, if you look at the countries that the self-sufficient ratio, then you can see that I'm from the Netherlands, and I also want to talk a bit about the Netherlands. We have a self-sufficient rate of 54.3%. Yeah, that is our ratio. But look, for table eggs, it is 350%. For poultry meat, it is 240%. Yeah, that was already in 2018. So you can imagine that we are producing much more than that we really need. So we are really an exporting country. We are exporting a lot of table eggs and a lot of poultry meat in Europe, but also outside Europe. Now I want to say a little bit about the number of poultry farms. This is Dutch, but I can translate it for you. Here you can see the total number of chickens. Yeah, 1765 million. Of laying hens is 960 million. Parent stock. No, this is farms. Sorry, 1765 farms. Yeah, laying hens 960 farms. So total, we have less than 1,000 layer farms in the Netherlands. Yeah. Broilers, we have 875 farms. If you compare that with Indonesia, for instance, we are a very small country. Here we have a very, very limited number of farms. But what you can also see, this is Turkey's, only 30 farms. ducks, only 52 farms. Poultry, here, the rest, 15. Now, if you go to the number of chickens per farm, then you can see the number of chickens per farm here. This is for laying hen. You can see here that this one, the laying hen, this is the average number. It's about 45,000. So we have no small farm anymore. Only in the Netherlands, we have only farms with 40, 50, maybe 100,000 layers. Small farms like 1,000 layers you cannot find. We don't have. You see, so only big quantity of layers. All closed houses. Yeah, they are all closed except for some. They do, of course, with a run, but the house itself is a closed house. But it is some. Of course, they give access to outside, yeah, to runs. So, but here you can see this is the number of animals, and this is the average number of animals. This is the red one, and this is about 45,000. In broilers, this is broilers, yeah. Broilers, it's the average here, yeah, animals and average number of animals, average numbers of animals. Also here, you can see here that the average numbers of animals here is about 80,000 here. Yeah, about 80,000 animals, yeah, average. So also there we have big numbers. We don't have small farms, we have only big farms in number, yeah. And also all closed. For broilers, it's almost all closed, although it is changing a little bit, but most of them are closed. Now, what are the challenges, or now, what are the politics? Because also local politics concerning livestock and poultry is important. In the Netherlands, we are an exporting country for poultry products. So we are reducing the number of livestock nowadays. Yeah, that is because of, yeah, there is a lot of strong policy on nitrogen. We have greenhouse gas reduction, and we want to have more sustainable production policy. So that means that in broilers, we have changed from 100% fast-growing, normal fast-growing broilers to about 40% slow-growing broilers because of welfare and because of retail. Retail wants to sell only slow-growing broilers. That doesn't mean that they grow very slow, but they go slower than the normal fast-growing broilers we have from Cobb and Ross. So that also is a change. And if they grow slower, yeah, per year, you cannot grow so many broilers because they grow at least 1 week longer than the other ones. So that also means that you need more time for the growing period. Now in India, you can see they have a strong support of small-scale farmers. So not all the policy is the same. In the Netherlands, we don't have small-scale farmers, but in some countries, they support the small-scale farmers. They think that that might be the solution to increase the productivity. In other countries, they support to medium and large-scale, like Eastern Africa, Myanmar, Indonesia, medium and large-scale poultry, maybe closed housing even, so more innovations. Yeah, that is maybe the future. So that in some countries, they say, maybe that is a better policy. In Kenya, they have a Kenya market-led dairy development program, but also for poultry. Yeah, so they have programs where they want to do a market-led industry. In Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Tanzania, I'm also working there, focus on small-scale farmers. So they say, no, let's support the small-scale farmer. Let's not go to the large-scale farm, like in the medium and large scale. No, let's support more to the small scale, and then maybe we can do something in those programs. So there is not in the world, although we know globally there are challenges and maybe there are opportunities also, because it is also an opportunity that the meat consumption is growing, but still we have a big challenge there. So the conclusion is farm management aspects, they matter very much. Yeah, how you use your feed, how you use your genetics, how your management will be like. So that is very important. So focus on food security and also food safety and healthy food. Because the first thing is that where you start is food security. First, you want everybody to have access to poultry, meat and egg. But then you are also going to food safety programs. Yeah, then you want to have safe food. So you are going to have a value chain which is checked on food safety and uses of antibiotics and medication, maybe even vaccination, internal parasites, and then healthy food. And that is at the status where we are in the Netherlands. So we had food security. That was a long time ago, last century maybe. Then we got food safety. And at the moment, we are more focusing on healthy food. So that is the next step. And then you can say, yeah, then the costs are a little bit higher, but I also showed you that our income is also increasing. Yeah, although I don't know with COVID-19 now, but normally everybody's income is growing. So major improvements to a large extent depend on external circumstances, land availability, economic development, logistics, national and local politics, infrastructure policy, trade issues, environmental carrying capacity, as I showed you. So there are a lot of issues that we have to prepare our student, yeah, our graduates when they want to have a job in the poultry business. What do they need to know? Yeah. So young people starting poultry business or taking a job in the poultry industry, they need really good entrepreneurial skills. Yeah, to be an entrepreneur, analytical skills and research skills, because they need to find new feed resources. They have to find new ways how to keep your chicken so that the management is more accurate to the genetic improvement. Innovation, because new things in the business. I know I said 20 years ago it was completely different the way we kept chickens than we are keeping chickens now in Europe. So we are changing. Yeah, cages are banned. We have no cages anymore. We have the floor system. We have to get used to that system. The management is completely different. So we really need to focus on innovation. Globalization, very, very important. In our university, globalization every year, in every study year, we have a module on globalization, because you have seen it is a global situation. We are not only in Indonesia or in Australia or we are in the Netherlands. No, it is a global situation. Poultry is a global situation, a global sector. It is not just that you are producing for your neighbor or for your village. No, it is really a global sector. We are transporting poultry all over the world. So that means that we have to do with other countries. Sustainability, very, very important. Greenhouse gas emission, I mentioned it already. Water scarcity, communication is very important. Cooperation, that you can work together. You need to work together to be strong. Leadership, because farms are growing in size. So leadership is one of the very, very important, also in our curricula. Leadership is a very important part of the curricula, also because leadership, if your size of your farm is increasing, you have staff and you need to know how to lead the staff and how to bring innovations into your farm, that kind of thing. And of course, you still need technical skills for up-to-date poultry management. You cannot do without technical skills. You need technical skills. I'm already a long time in poultry and I know technical skills are very, very important. So that one you also need. Yeah. So production efficiency, logistic, transport, animal welfare and entrepreneurship in all circumstances. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ernst, for giving such informative and interesting presentations. If there is a questions related to the topic presented by Ms. Ernst, the participants can write the questions in the chat column. Please tell us your name and your institutions, and then due to the high number of the questions, we will select the questions of the participants. And then we will continue to the second presenter. I would like to invite Mr. Dan Westbrick. Please welcome, and floor is yours.
Maybe now you can hear me, Uni?
Yes, we can hear you, Dan.
Very
Please
good.
welcome. Yes.
You can also see my presentation, I suppose.
Yes, we see the
Yes.
presentation.
Good. Very good. Thank you for inviting me to give this presentation. You just have traveled around the world, focusing on poultry. I want to offer you a journey into the Netherlands. Due to COVID, there are travel restrictions, but hopefully by this presentation, you get some insight of what we do in the Netherlands about dairy production. The time is limited and there's much to see. So let's see what we can achieve this morning. I've been introduced already, so I can be short about myself, but it's correct that I did my master in educational sciences at Maastricht University, and I did a BSc in agriculture, specialization in livestock production. And I use those two angles of in my work. Partly I provide lectures in animal husbandry, but I'm also involved in consultancy work in international projects to help educational institutes to develop their educational programs. And as you see, countries like Benin, Mozambique, which are in Africa, of course, but also in Asia, like Indonesia and Middle East, countries like Palestine. You have heard about ERIS just by name maybe, but it's also good to give you a little bit of an idea what ERIS is about. ERIS consists of several educational institutes. We have one University of Applied Sciences with 3 different faculties. I work for the faculty in Dronten, but we have also a faculty in Almere and a faculty in Wageningen. There's TVET institutes, so there's about 7 TVET institutes. There's pre-vocational education institutes, and there's the ERIS training centers. So you could say that within ERIS, we offer programs all the way from practical trainings up to bachelor and master degrees at the university. These are the 3 buildings for the 3 faculties. This is the one in Wageningen, which focuses on teaching and training and extension. People become teachers in TVET institutes. This is the faculty where I work for. We have programs in animal production, in plant production, in agribusiness and entrepreneurship. And this is our faculty in Almere, which is a big city close to Amsterdam, and it's focusing much on urban, green, ecology, and rural areas. In this presentation, I told you I want to offer you a journey through the Netherlands. I want to, with going around, I want to show you developments in farm structure, developments in production, developments on housing, milking, and labor. Then I want to show you a bit of our export position, the Dutch agriculture in general, and within the total export value, the part of animal husbandry. Then the developments and challenges based on it, and how it will affect the development of educational programs. Yeah, if you travel to the Netherlands, it's maybe also good to know how the Netherlands looks like. It's a very small country in Europe. At the west, we have the North Sea. In the east, there's Germany, Belgium, and France are in the south. And this is a map showing you the different soil types. And it's good to know a bit about those soil types, because this has a very strong relation with how agriculture is organized in the Netherlands. You see these parts are the sandy soils, and you could say that roughly that pig and poultry production takes place at the parts of where the sandy soils are. And from origin, dairy production takes much more place in areas which are good for grassland production. So here in the west, on peat soils, in the north, in Friesland, but also in Flevoland, where you have the clay soils. Okay, it's a rough division, but it determines a bit on how farms have developed throughout the years. The Netherlands is a country which is below sea level for a major part. So that means that let's say the pink part, if you didn't have sea barriers here, then this part might be flooded because that's below sea level, even up to 5 to 10 meters below sea level in certain areas. Now, and of course, that also corresponds with the fact that you find in the west and in the north these peat soils and the clay soils around the rivers here close to the sea, and the sandy soils which are much higher here, more in the south and in the east. Yeah, like I just said, is that if you look to the map, then also the soil types very much determine what kind of productions there are. Here in green, there you see it's a lot of animal production, sheep and dairy, mainly dairy. Although also in the east we have quite some dairy farms. In the south, on the soils, sandy soils, pig and poultry production is quite important. And here in the south, where you have the clay soils, but as well as in the new polders here, you have a lot of arable farming. Horticulture takes place mostly in the west, especially in this area. If you look on pictures from the universe, there you see a lot of light here because of the greenhouses. So that's how agriculture is organized in our country. Well, you can find these kind of places. Fortunately, many of the Dutch cows are still grazing, although it's an important issue at the moment. I will tell you later a bit more about it. Of course, the well-known windmills, but you can also see that many parts of the country, because they are below sea level, are wet areas, a lot of water, but very productive grasslands. So that's also why it's very much suitable for dairy production. But we have also our modern, let's say, countrysides. This picture on the right side is a picture of Flevoland. It's a neopolder, and you see that it's only 60 years old. That farms and farmland is very much well organized and makes it possible to have modern dairy production, but also modern arable production, which takes place in Flevoland, but also here. I think this is a picture of the Noordoostpolder, which is also a polder, renewed land from sea, and also here you can see nice square fields, which are very good to work with big machinery. If you look to numbers, Ernst has shown you some numbers already, but we are with 16 million people, and if you count the cattle and the pigs and the sheep together, then you have as much animals as people. It used to be as many pigs as people, but the number of pigs has really decreased. And Ernst has shown you already the figures about the poultry. Well, for Indonesia, I hope you know yourself. If I'm right, there are 267 million people, so you can see that it is very much different. The Netherlands is only a very small country. Also by size. You see that if you compare it with Indonesia, we are almost nothing. Yeah, this is a slide with some numbers, not to remember all those numbers, but it's good to see the trend in it. If you start in 1950, you see that we had only seven dairy cows a farm, with quite some farms, more than 200,000. And if you are looking now for today, it's almost 100 cows per farm, and that you see a dramatic decrease of the number of farms. So yeah, a lot of people had to find work elsewhere. But at the other side is that you see the number of dairy cows, 1.5 million in the 1950s. We are more or less at the same level right now. It has had some times it was increasing and decreasing afterwards again and increasing here, but still more or less the same number of cows. So the intensity of production has very much increased. If you see developments and trends in data in production, you see more or less the same trends. 1950, dairy cow only produced 4,000 liters of milk. And today, the average production is more than 10,000 kilograms of milk, with a very high fat and content, fat and protein content, which gives a good milk price for farmers. To make this production increase possible, and also to make the enlargement of farms possible, is of course necessary to have housing which is suitable for larger farms. These are our traditional farms with the haystack, feeding hay. This is a barn with the house in front. Here you see the front of the house. Every part of the country has its own type of farmhouse. This is more in the north, where you see the house here and a very big shed here. Maybe it's even more for arable farming, but they kept also dairy here. And this is in the southern part, which is maybe even look like a fortress. But so every part of the country has its own farmhouse. Also keeping the animals in a certain way. This is the Frisian stable with the head in front. This is the Dutch stable where the cow looking to each other here. And this is a modern version of it. Although I have to say that there's not much remaining. There are about 900 farms which still keep the dairy cows in this type of housing. Today it looks like more like this. Farms are going up to 250 dairy cows. You need a big facility, a loose housing type where animals are free to walk, free to have access to the roughage, to lay down when they want, and what you can't see here in this picture, but also go for milking on times they think it's appropriate. Talking about milking, this was how it looked like in the 1950, milking by hand. There were also already some measurements about how much a cow was producing, and maybe even checking of quality. That has much changed. This is how many farms are milking today with an automatic milking system. And like I told you, cows are free to choose when they want to be milked. And was it traditionally on fixed times, two times a day? Now it goes up to 2.8, 2.9 times a day being milked. And if you look to the numbers of it, then you see that there are about 4,000 farms which have an automatic milking system. About equal amount have a herringbone parlor, and there are still some farms which have the tied house type where they milk inside. Developments in breeds. Maybe you know the Holstein Friesian. The FH stands for Fries Hollands vee cattle. So the Dutch dairy cattle, I would say, this is how it looked like in the 1950. But even before, in 1880, we are selling cattle to the United States. This one was sold for 5,000 guilders. Represents a value now of 55,000 euro. And these kind of animals, I think there are sold about 8,000 animals to the United States, are the fundament of the Holstein Friesian of today. And I would say that almost 100% of our black and white cattle are now the Holstein Friesian. So also a very big change in this. We have also a red and white, the MRI, but also many of the MRI farmers are crossing the animals with Holsteins, and then you get the red Holstein Friesian. If you compare productions, the Holstein Friesian have just shown you about 10,000 kilograms of milk. The red Holstein almost the same, so with a little bit more fat and protein. This comes from this MRI breed, and as you see here, the MRI is a bit behind the 7,000 kilograms of milk, but with very high fat and protein contents. And it's dual muscle, not dual muscle, but it's a very well muscled animal. So if you sell the animal, you get also better price for the meat. Well, a very rare breed is the blister head, but maybe in future, when we go more in the direction of organic farming, it might go to play a very good role, because it's a very healthy and strong animal. Of course, the production is much slower than the Holstein Friesian, but in more rough conditions, it survives very well. And the Belgian Blue is used. That's a dual muscled animal for to crossbreed and to get cows, which you can sell for a higher price. Development of herd life. Here you can see that lifetime production is really much increasing, and also herd life it's an issue which we try to increase herd life of an animal. I would say we are not too good at it to increase the herd life yet. There are different reasons for that, I think, but lifetime production there's a big increase. The Holstein Friesian brings also all kinds of problems in relation to health and fertility. Therefore, there are also programs to cross the Holstein Friesian with other breeds like the Swedish Red, but also here with the Montbéliarde, to get stronger breeds which have better fertility, less problem with lags, and those kind of things. And by that, to trying to increase the lifetime of the animals. Labor is an issue. This is how in the 50s labor was done in the field. Lot of handwork, and fortunately today we have a lot of machinery, so which makes it also very much possible to have this big increase in number of animals and having all the field work related to that as well. Not only in the field work but also in feeding. Here you see even automatic feeders going in front of the animals and bringing the rough weights in front of the animals, which is the same case here. So it makes the labor work much less. And if you put it in a table, then you'll see here in the 1940, you had 300 hours per cow per year necessary. And if you are looking now today, we are around 40 hours per cow per year to manage the animals. And here you see all the factors making this change possible, which is going from horse traction to tractor pulling, from using hay to silage making, from the tied up housing to the loose housing, and then the automatization and robotization. Well, the Netherlands export, Ernst was talking about it already a little bit, just a few numbers. The Netherlands is the second exporter of agricultural products in the world after the United States. Some information is in Dutch, but meat is quite important. The flowers are very much important. This is the biggest export product. And then here you see the dairy products and eggs, which is, let's say, third in the list of export products in the Netherlands. And then there are all kinds of other smaller products. I would say that the flower market is also partly because its production is done in Kenya, for example. Flowers are exported by plane or transported by plane to the flower auction in Aalsmeer, and then from Aalsmeer sold to all kinds of other countries in the world. Our export partners, which countries are we exporting to? Well, Germany, our neighbor, is very much important, 23 billion. Then there's in the south there's Belgium and France and the United Kingdom. So you could say our neighbors are our best friends, where we export our products to. And if you want to know about Indonesia, here you can find Indonesia. There's also some export of agricultural products to Indonesia, but it's only a small part in comparison to others. Yeah, then some developments over the year, not to remember all, but in this picture shows you that in our country there's a lot of nature. What is nature? Is it artificial nature or is it original? That doesn't matter too much, I think, but this dairy production, but also pig and poultry production, has a major effect on nature conservation. And therefore, if you go through this list with all kind of decisions made by government, you see there's all kind of regulations to ensure that we keep our nature as healthy as possible. Starting with milk quota, that has not so much to do with the nature, maybe, but more about the production. Production went too high, and it was too costly to buy the surplus by the European Union. So they said we need to have a milk quota. And the Dutch dairy sector worked quite some time with the milk quota, and it ended in 2015. Because the European Union said, okay, we want to offer the possibility to have kind of free market. We're not going to sell surpluses anymore, but the dairy sector can decide themselves how much they want to produce. And immediately farmers start to grow. And after only 2 or 3 years, then the government said, well, that's nice that you want to increase your number of cattle, but that's polluting our environment. So that they installed a phosphate quota, which gives a maximum of production of phosphate, and by that also a maximum on a number of animals in our country. And you see all kind of other regulations related to this manure regulations here, nitrate regulation to avoid pollution of water, ammonia law, nitrogen is still very much an issue at the moment. And what's expected in 2025, there's a rule that farmers need to get 65% of the protein they use for their animals from their own farm. So it becomes very important that you have your own protein production to be able to feed your animals. Summarizing the developments and challenges, if you look from an economical angle, you could say there's an increase in demand, especially in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, but decrease in consumption in Europe. Probably more than we are used to on price fluctuations at the world market. And for the Netherlands, there's a small concern, or maybe even a big concern, is that we have high fixed costs. So at times of price fluctuations, we're more vulnerable to that. And one of the reasons is that soil prices are very high. At the moment, the average is about 60,000 euro for a hectare. Sustainability is something to take care of from a perspective of animal welfare and animal health. So grazing is very much an issue. Consumers want to see the cows in the fields. Reduction of antibiotics, use of antibiotics is an important issue. And a well-balanced between input and output of minerals. Consumers have all kinds of demands. They don't like too much the increase of the size of stables. So I think there will be a kind of maximum on that in our country. Protection of flora and fauna is a very important issue. And consumers much more demand local food. So local for local is something which is maybe an opportunity. And that requires all kind of technical issues on farms. There's here only two. Organization of labor is an issue if you want to increase your farm, and the use of data available on the farm is just a few words about this one. You see that farmers have the possibility to develop in all kinds of directions. So that makes it also from a farm management perspective more challenging in which direction do I choose? Do I choose for increase and more intensive production, or do I more specialize, or do I have possibilities for second activities like dairy production, energy production, education, recreation, etc. Then to finalize, what does it mean for our graduates? Being able to work with hands, but maybe sometimes also wearing a tie. If you look to vacancy announcement, you could wonder what is important to see in the vacancy announcement. Do we want an employee who know the 20 amino acids, do know all the protein requirements, do know all about anatomy of cows, or do we need a student who has a bachelor level of thinking, is familiar with animal feeds, is customer directed, have analytical insight, and is excellent in communication, enthusiastic, motivated, and creative? And I think the last one is much more important than the first one. So that means that if we develop a curriculum, I think there's two very much important starting points. Is first that we know the labor market very well, that we know the needs of the labor market, and that we have a modern vision on learning, which makes it able to have a curriculum which is student-centered, which is based on tasks, and which is competency-oriented. And my colleague Ernst mentioned already the competencies in communication, in entrepreneurship, in innovation, in leadership. These kind of competencies are required to be trained so that students, when they meet all kind of different professional situations, that they're able to handle those professional situations in a good way. And then there's a saying of Mr. Steinbeck who says, a boy becomes a man when a man is needed. In other words, offer students the possibility to get experience in handling professional situations, because if you offer them the possibility to handle professional situations, they're much more prepared when they are graduated to handle these different professional situations. Traditional view on learning, you go from the secondary school, you have your educational learning, you collect as much knowledge as possible, and you enter the labor market. And if you go to output-centered learning, then there's much more interaction between the university, the labor market, and society. It's a kind of circular structure. You get information from the labor market, you use it in the university, and the other way around. Students working in the university or being trained in the university are also participating in parts of the labor market in connection with the society. And that together delivers a graduate which is prepared to face the challenges and to work with the challenges in the labor market. When constructing a curriculum, therefore, we use 3 steps. We identify professional task, you could say core task. You want to train students. These core tasks lead to educational units in the curriculum. And these educational units result in a draft curriculum schedule. And therefore you can see that the task relevant for a graduate very much determine how the curriculum schedule looks like. It will not say that theory is not important anymore. No, of course not. Because to be able to perform task, you need very up-to-date and sound knowledge. But theory is not the fundament anymore. The tasks are the fundament of the curriculum. And this is how our curriculum looks like at the moment. A 4-year program with 2 semesters, and then in each semester you see that we have modules based on task: farm analysis, farm advice, applied research, leading people, being policy assistant, quality directed production, being a specialist. Here you see those professional tasks we consider as important for our graduates when they start working in this quickly developing field of work. Last sheet, I think, Uni. So that means that we create situations in which students have to work in teams to work on tasks we give them, tasks based on the world of work. Of course, you supervise, but supervision is more kind of cooperation between students and lecturers working on a task, and teacher guiding them in the right direction and helping them. students presenting results of their work, being in contact with the labor market, with companies, to do tasks for these companies. And of course, with our facilities and in our university farm, this is the greenhouse, but we have also our dairy units and pig and poultry units, offering motivating learning situations for our students. And then hopefully they are ready to enter the world of work. So that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I assume it will be shared. So if some of the information was maybe too quick, then you can just read in your own time.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Very inspiring to tell us about the development of agriculture in the Netherlands. Okay, before we go to the next sequence, maybe we would like to ask for our partners university from Tarlac University and from Melbourne Polytechnic to say their feedback to our programs. We give the floor to Kestel Joy F. Isla from Faculty of Medicines, or for Mark F. Toro from Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science from Tarlac University, or from Mr. Sadikul Awan from Melbourne Polytechnic. Okay, maybe the guests are
Yes.
still yeah.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning and good afternoon.
Yes, good morning and good afternoons. Good morning in the Netherlands. Good afternoon in Indonesia and Australia and Philippines. Yes.
We would like to thank the speakers because they are very good in explaining the situation in their countries, and then maybe we are going to adopt those practices or maybe those challenges also, especially to our students here at Tarlac Agricultural University. We need to challenge them also in order for them to attain their goal in sustainability. So that's all, ma'am. You
Pak Pria, Bu Resti di mana?
Di CB, Pak.
Oh ya.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mark Fabros, for your
Yes.
for your remarks.
Sorry, thank you. Before there was a problem that I cannot unmute myself. This would be from the host. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we can continue for our next guest from Melbourne's Polytechnic. Thank you for Mr. Mark. So Let's continue our programs to the next sessions, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to the questions and answer. And then I have already here the list of the questions. And then the first questions is from Mrs. Maya Dewi Diah Maharani. The questions will be asked to Mr. Ernst Bedler. She's asking about how the Dutch government's directive policy correlated with vocational schools in the fields of poultry sector supporting sustainable development. Maybe Ernst, you can answer first these questions.
So the question is how the Dutch government
how the Dutch government's directive policy correlated with vocational schools in the fields of poultry sectors supporting sustainable development.
Now, the Dutch government is not so much involved in our curricula, but it's more involved indeed in subsidies and in I don't know whether there is an exact directive concerning sustainable poultry production, but of course there is of course involvement of the Dutch government in the vocational schools where they teach at least livestock. Maybe not so much on poultry, but more on livestock. Livestock policies are important indeed to be incorporated in the vocational schools. I don't know exactly the directives that they have, but I know that there is at least a policy that because of the Dutch government is subsidizing all vocational institutes, it is important that they also incorporate all the Dutch directives, like, for instance, if you talk about broilers, we have a directive in Europe, but also in the Netherlands, that is concerning broiler welfare. Those directives, they are immediately incorporated in the curricula, so that graduates are all having the knowledge and maybe the skills concerning the welfare of animals. You are muted, Juni.
Maybe please allow me to unmute myself by myself for the host, so I can allow to speak. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ernst, for the answers. And then we can continue to the second questions from the Melbourne Polytechnic. It is from William Widakdo. He's asking about, is there any health management for broiler? What kind of health management we can do in general? Thank you.
Of course, there is health management for broilers. There are several ways you can do it. You can have, let's say, we have an institute in the Netherlands that is a Central Health Institute that has, of course, all kinds of methods to monitor the health of broilers. But we are mainly concerning about now in the last 10 years about Campylobacter, Salmonella. That are of course important health issues because they are zoonotic, and of course in human health we take a lot of that one in account. The next one is the reduction of antibiotic uses, which is also a European regulation. We have to reduce the amount of antibiotic we are using. In the feed, it's already a long time not allowed, since 2000, it's not allowed anymore in the feed. So that are health programs. And of course, we have IKB, what we call integrated quality control, that is about the whole value chain. So it's not only the broilers, not only the live broilers, but the whole value chain. So that means we start with the parent stock, the grandparent stock, then the parent stock, then the hatchery, and then the broiler farm, and then but it continues slaughtering and further processing, where we have, of course, many health issues that we have to control. So therefore, we have really, especially in Netherlands, but also in Europe in general, we have good health programs for broilers. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. And then the third question is from Mr. Arif Daryanto. He's asking to both of you, for Dan and also Ernst, what are determinants of sustainable poultry and dairy competitiveness in the Netherlands, and what are the role of the governments to support the sectors? And the second question is how to respond the broken or shaken supply chains in agri-food complex industries. Do you get it?
I think it is one for Dan. Yeah, Dan, you try.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe you're so kind to repeat it because I only understood
Okay.
part of the question.
The first question is about what are the determinants of sustainable poultry and dairy competitiveness in the Netherlands?
Mm-hmm.
And then what are the role of the government to support that sectors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if maybe I went very quickly in my presentation, but you have maybe seen there's all kind of regulations, and government indeed tries to regulate let's say the side effects of production, which is mainly has to do with manure and the possibility of pollution of environment due to manure. For example, soil waters, an amount of nitrate in water. Let's say that's what the government tries to do, is to establish rules and regulations for use of manure on fields, but also for types of housing, for example, to reduce ammonia emission. And that's something farmers have to deal with. But of course, the sector itself also looks to, let's say, what I said, consumers' perspective. Expectations. They expect animals to graze. The sector, the dairy sector, the factories, they try to stimulate farmers by giving a bonus on the milk price when they have the cows grazing outside. But the sector itself is also very much looking in trying to increase the longevity of animals. So yeah, sustainability has all kinds of different aspects. And at one hand, it's forced by government, by regulation, but the sector itself has also, of course, interest in increasing sustainability of their production. And it's maybe not in the question, but good to know that in our education programs, we also want to make our students aware of the importance of sustainability, and also to teach them, let's say, different methods you can apply to increase the sustainability of your production.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And then the other questions also coming from Pak Arif. He's asking how to respond the broken or shaken supply chains in agri-food complex industries.
Yeah, if you talk about, I'm not 100% sure if we understood correctly, but if you talk about supply chain and yeah, one of the reasons that the dairy production, but I think also in pig and poultry production, the production has increased so much, is that indeed it's not just the primary production, but it's a kind of triangle between research and advisory, government and primary sector working together, which is creating knowledge and making sure that you make use of the knowledge in the production. But around farmers, we have very well developed advisory services. We have very well developed feed industry, very good research, not only scientific research, but also applied research, good veterinary services. So all those actors plays their role in ensure that we can achieve this very well, a good production, and not harming the health and the welfare of the animals.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Maybe we go back again to Ernst, because there are still a lot of questions to Ernst. And then the other questions for Ernst is coming from the other questions is coming from Ivan from Vocational School of College of Vocational Studies of IPB. He's asking, I want to ask how the Netherlands respond to the current pandemic situations, maybe by losing alternative feeding or whatever. I think many farmers have experienced crop failure due to the clear pandemic-19 and forced farmers to sell meat at low prices, but had to buy food at a high price. I have a broiler farm and I feel the effect directly. That's from the sides of Indonesia. Maybe Ernst?
Yes, from
May
the
have something
Netherlands.
to say?
Yeah, I can say that especially in chickens, there is not in eggs and so layers and broilers. We don't face any problem with the COVID. One is that many people, they don't go to the restaurant, but they went to the shop to buy food. And when they buy food in the shop, because normally about 30% of the people in the Netherlands are going to restaurants. Now in the COVID period, all the restaurants were closed. So that means they had to buy in the supermarket, they had to buy their products. So what happened, people, they bought a lot of chicken. And especially it was the period that it was a very nice weather in the Netherlands. The temperature was around 20 to 25 degrees. Many people use the barbecue. And if they use the barbecue, they like to use the chicken meat because it is easy to prepare. So we didn't really experience a shortage in, no, we really experienced a shortage in poultry products. And that means we were importing even a lot of products, eggs and meat. So the prices were continuously quite good, as well for the farmer, as well for the slaughterhouses. The only thing is that with the export, it was a little bit more difficult. We are exporting all the products that we don't, because you have seen in poultry meat, we have about more than 200% self-sufficient rate. So we have to sell about 60% of our products, but that are mainly products that we don't consume in the Netherlands. That are maybe the legs and the back of the chicken, the neck, that kind of products we don't eat. We eat only here, we eat most breast meat and some thigh meat. So the rest we export, and the export was a little bit more difficult. But that are products that are low in price, so no problem for that. So in any eggs also, we imported even eggs from Spain because there was a shortage of eggs. Due to that, we don't have cages in Europe, but we have only floor system. So the number of chickens in Europe is more or less balanced to the eggs we require. So no, the things that we were facing were not the same like in Indonesia. We don't have to sell our products cheaply and then making a loss. No. At this moment, the market is still quite okay for eggs and meat. And the feed prices, because you think maybe the feed prices went up, the feed prices didn't go up because there was a lot of raw material. We are always importing almost all raw materials. And at that moment that the COVID was, the import of the raw materials was still going on. Although in the harbor of Rotterdam that we have, little containers were coming in, but that were more other goods. So that was not raw materials. So we didn't really face a shortage of raw materials, and the feed price didn't increase so much. No. We don't have the same problems like in some other countries where immediately a shortage, but it's more about maybe the logistics. Sometimes the logistics are difficult.
So there is also a high cost for the logistic problems there?
It is more difficult. The logistic is more difficult, but at the moment, now we are almost free of COVID. There are still some small incidences with cases, but we have the COVID, the coronavirus is almost disappeared from the Netherlands, hopefully. And at the moment, things are going back to normal. So we'll hope that, also most likely we are getting an economic crisis, but hopefully it will be not as severe as they are promising. But then also the agricultural sector will, of course, also have a problem with, if there is an economic crisis, also the agricultural sector will be influenced by that, for sure. But there are a lot of, you see in the Netherlands, it's most family farming. And the family farming means a family has one location or more locations and they have some staff, but it's it's different than in a lot of other countries where they have big companies having many millions of chickens, having different locations and having all hired labor. That is a little bit different. So maybe that's also an influence. Yeah.
Thank you, Ernst. And the other questions from Ninda Pratiwi, I think the question is going to Dan. He's asking about, I want to ask how to stay effective market product to in the current situation, still in the COVID situation, to keep increasing profits, especially for marketing milk, which we know is one of the perishable products.
Yeah, I think it's a good and interesting question. But I think also when you look to the Dutch dairy sector, and indeed export is also very important activity. But that's let's say mainly in let's say milk related products. Let's say making cheese, butter, milk powders. So that that's also a possibility to to lower the effect of the COVID situation. If you transform your products, you increase the shelf life, and it makes it also possible to sell at other moments, being bit more flexible than just the fresh milk.
Oh. So they're going to processing then.
Yeah. Okay. The fresh milk is more for the internal market, and export is more focusing on
for the export
milk powders, cheese, butter.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And there is another long questions from Rifki. He's asking to Dan also. Oh, he's asking to Ernst, I think. I want to ask you concerning poultry sector. As in your presentations, I see that you're already doing research in Indonesia. I want to ask your opinion about what will be the trends about poultry in Indonesia, and what you said earlier that innovations is the upcoming challenge to start poultry business. Can you give us some of example of these innovations that the young people like us can do that? Thank you.
It's a very long question, but
yes.
Indeed, I'm not doing so much research, but we have a project, of course, in Indonesia. So in that project, we are connected with the teachers in poultry. So, and of course, you get some, as ERAS, we had some earlier projects also in Indonesia. So you get an idea of how the sector will develop, although within this project that we do, we would like to have a little bit more information on that, on how, let's say, the sector will develop in the coming years, because there is also a policy of the government, of course, of Indonesia. But I think that if you look at the trend in the world, and I have recently finished a project in Myanmar, where you can compare it a little bit to Indonesia, then you can see that people in the poultry business, they are also getting more chickens. Let's say if we talk about more chickens, more closed housing, they look more at cheaper feed sources that they can still use. So I think that if you want to do something in innovations, you can look at the housing systems. That is one thing. So what housing systems can you use in Indonesia? Should it be a closed house or maybe semi-closed house with tunnel ventilation or no tunnel ventilation? So that is maybe one direction. Another one is new feed sources. Maybe there are unused feed sources you can still use for chicken feed. Maybe you cannot get high or a good FCR, but maybe finally it's all about cost and revenues. So that is something you have to look at. Now, insects, what I showed you, we are doing a lot of, in Europe, we are doing a lot of research on insect, how to incorporate insect oil or insect protein into animal feed. So that is one direction you can look at. Housing system, we are now trying to get a project in Indonesia with the global food partners on a new system, a floor system for laying hen. That's not new, but it's quite new in Asia, because a lot of people are keeping layers on cages. So indeed housing, so maybe that is more equipment. So the housing system on equipment, on feed, So there are many things. Also reducing antibiotic, what can be used instead of antibiotic, because there are a lot of alternatives also in feeding. Yeah. So medium chain fatty acid, those things. So there is a lot of research you can do. If you want to start tomorrow, I know that there is a lot of opportunities.
Thank you. And then the next question is coming from Tarlac Agricultural University. Mr. Ernst mentions about the reductions of antibiotics in their farming. What are the substitutes in the maintaining or addressing the overall farm health? Is there health precautions in these products in terms of milk consumption? That's from Paul. Sorry, Ernst, you are unmuted.
It is about milk consumption. I don't know whether Dan wants to.
Meat consumption.
Meat
consumption.
Oh,
yes.
meat. Okay, meat. So it is more the reduction of antibiotics in the production of meat, and that is very important. That the product. How can you reduce the antibiotic? Are you using other substitutes? No, we are mainly looking at the feed ingredients. So in young broilers, for instance, we have already a lot of pre-starters where we are using more better digestible, let me say it like that, better digestible raw materials, so that the uses of antibiotics, initially we were all using antibiotics starting up chickens in our farm. Nowadays, nobody is using any antibiotic in starting up chickens in their farm, because they have found that there are some raw materials that you can use. But also there are a lot of feed additives we are using, like extra vitamin, or sometimes they are different, all kinds of, sometimes extra minerals. That can be anything that is a feed additive. There are so many, but no growth promoters, no antibiotics, as little as possible. So yeah, feed additives is one possibility, and keep the bird healthy. Because that is in a lot of cases, the management is the reason that chickens are getting a disease and that you have to use the antibiotic. Farm hygiene, also one very important one. Farm hygiene, biosecurity, personal health, that kind of thing. That is very important. That your workers are clean, that they don't keep chickens at home. That kind of thing you can do. Yeah. So many things you can do before you are getting the disease. When you have the disease, of course, yeah, then in some cases in the Netherlands also we have to treat with antibiotics. There is no way sometimes you can find another way out without that the birds are dying. So I think that yeah, you can reduce antibiotic. We have a whole system of reduction, but monitoring is one of the most important things to start with. Why are you using it and how much? And from that point you can reduce.
All right, nice explanations. And the other questions is from, it's from Bapak Arif Nindyo from Polbangtan, Bogor. He's asking about the dairy. Does the Dutch government subsidize dairy farmers? If so, what the forms of the subsidy? Does the cooperative play a role in the dairy business in the Netherlands? It's for Dan, I think.
Yeah, so for the Dutch dairy farms, there is no direct subsidy. Sometimes farmers can get a subsidy for innovations, for example, on manure treatment, but there's no direct subsidy. There is a small subsidy from the European Union related to production methods. But of course, farmers have to earn their income mainly by producing the milk and selling it on the market by their cooperatives or milk factories.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And another question from Tarlac University of Philippines. What do farms in the Netherlands do with all the manure, poultry and dairy? Does it support sustainable development goals?
Yeah, so that the manure, like I told you before, it's one of the main challenges. And if you have seen on the map, There are areas which farms have tradition of dairy on grassland, and these farms have of course their grassland to use the manure on their own fields. There are also areas which are more on the sandy soils, which farms have let's say less land available. And also the use of manure is much more stricter because nitrogen and phosphate can pollute groundwater. So there's restrictions on using the amount of manure they can use. And the surplus of manure has to be sold to arable farmers or even to be processed into dry manure. And they separate the liquid part from the solid part. And the solid parts can also be used as fertilizers. To be sold to others. But the manure and the surplus of manure is an issue mainly on farms which have no farmland. So for pig and poultry, it's much more a challenge.
So
Yeah,
where
so
do they put the manure if they don't have enough land?
Now, if you talk about poultry is completely different, because in poultry we can easily inside the poultry house we can easily dry the poultry manure, and if we can dry it more than 50% dry matter, then we can use it as fuel for our installation to make electricity. So it is going to an electricity plant where it is used as fuel. So that's completely different, and farmers have an agreement that they can use it there. Of course, and we have also agricultural land, as you have seen in the pictures of Daan, where we have no livestock, but only herbal farming and horticulture, and those farms, they can really use some of the poultry manure because it's high in nitrogen. In the Netherlands and in Europe, it's not allowed to give poultry manure to cattle, like in some countries where they are using it as a cattle feed. That is not allowed. But what we do is we also dry the manure of the layouts and we pelletize it into small pellets, and we are exporting it to countries where they have no manure. So also that is done, not on a large scale, but it's done. So some is used as fertilizer, some is, of course, a natural fertilizer, you can say. Some is used as pelletized and going to all kinds of countries. I know they are exporting it a lot to African countries, where they can use it as a fertilizer, and of course they are using it as fuel. So that is maybe the solution for the poultry. So for the poultry, it seems to be a big problem because you cannot use it on the land because they don't have land. Those farms, they don't have land to bring it to. But they have found another solution.
And maybe to add for the dairy, like I said, from tradition, many dairy farms have also the land available. But in let's say the last 5 years, farmers really want to make a jump in growth, and they kind of disconnect with the amount of land which is available. So there's also new regulations of the government that they try to restrict the number of animals per hectare, or giving penalties if you exceed it, so that they try to stimulate connection between the number of cattle you have and the amount of land you have available for making use for the manure.
Thank you, Dan. Maybe before we close these sessions, we still have one question from Rahmi Dianita. He's asking about what about the preference of people in the Netherlands on the organic product, both dairy or poultry, if it compared with inorganic or conventionals, especially in these pandemic situations. Maybe you have an idea about that?
I do not have the exact numbers. There is an organic market. You see also dairy farms which have specialized into to organic production. And I have to say that the step for dairy farms is in some occasions not too big, going from, let's say, a traditional farm to organic farming. But market is not that big, but it's every year it's increasing a little bit.
And what about poultry?
And I think it's for farmers, if they make a decision between having traditional farm and making a step in growth, or switching to organic, you see different groups of farmers. One group wants to increase the size and intensify. Another group of farmers say, well, for us, we like to keep the same size. We don't want to increase the size, but we go to organic farming and having also higher prices for our products.
And what about poultry, Ernst?
Now, poultry is about, I think, I don't know exact figure, but between 10 and 15% of the total poultry. So it's not a large quantity of farms, but the number is increasing, especially when the prices of the organic eggs are high. Like in some cases, the prices of the eggs were high in a certain period of the year. Then you can see that people are changing from traditional, or what you say, standard, that the chickens are in the barn, to organic farming. But it's difficult to change rapidly, because you need at least the land need to be at least 2 years for organic farming. So it is taking a long time before you are going from, let's say, the standard or traditional farming to organic farming. But it's increasing, the number is increasing. Also in broilers you can see, but that there are more, what we call a niche market, a market for broilers that are kept in a more different way, sometimes even organic. But it's a growing sector, but don't forget that we are exporting a lot of eggs and meat. And for export, we are not exporting a lot of organic meat or organic eggs. Yeah, that is mainly the standard way of keeping. Yeah, floor system for layers and broilers inside the house, about for maximum 42 kilos per meter square. So that are what we call the fast-growing broilers.
Thank you, Ernst, for the explanations. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, due to the limitations of the times, we do apologize that we could not ask or explain all of the questions from the participants. We are very thankful for all of the active questions and all of the active participations today. So we are now in the end of this part of the webinars. Before we close the webinar, I would like to take the conclusions from what the speakers have presented, that meats and also milk consumptions are growth very high and increasingly due to the high populations of the world. So we also have to look at the other resources to make sure that the feed are available for that sectors, especially on the feeds, poultry, and also dairy. And we also have to think about the implementations, how the youth can be involved on that activities, so our agriculture can sustain in the future. We do not drink oils, but we eat food, and then food is needed for everybody. So now let me say thank you to all of you, and then thank you very much for our speaker, Ernst Bettler and Dan Westrick, for the very inspiring and interesting presentations today, and also for the very wonderful participants that until now we still have almost 600 participants are active in this webinar. Hopefully, the information that we have shared today would be beneficial for all of us. Thank you for your attention. Please give applause to all of the speakers and also for all of us. Thank you and see you later. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Bu Yuni Resti. Thank you very much also Dan Westrick and Ernst Bettler. It was a very precise, informative, and relevant relate to every word that you mentioned. Thank you for sharing. And also thank you, Mrs. Yuni, for guiding this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this webinar informative and useful. Thank you for spending time with us today. Don't forget, because tomorrow we also have a webinar series 7 entitled Prospect of Animal-Based Protein and Aquaculture Farming for the Future. We will have speakers from Nghi An Polytechnic, Singapore, Sanmugam Neviliapan, and also Mr. Arif Daryanto, the Dean of College of Vocational Studies, IPB University. He is also adjunct professor at University of New England, Australia. Thank you very much for your attention. And thank you also for spending time with us today. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ernst. See you soon.
Thank you, dear colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Musik kampus terbaik dicoba coba.
Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik. Untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Terus berpacu dalam keunggulan, lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kesempatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran
Lagunya keren, lagunya.
Pak Rektor yang buat ya Pak ya?
Iya, tadi yang pertama kan hanya musik aja ya. Tadi sudah ada nyanyiannya. Dapat dari mana filenya, Emma?
Tadi dikirim sama Mas Ricci, Pak.
Mas Ricci.
Oh, that's good. Ya, tadi kan di awal dipancing dengan instrumen kan?
Instrumen, betul Pak. Ya.
Karena saya minta ke Bu Yatri masih instrumen ya. That's good ya. Hah?
Kami satu rombongan ibadah haji, saya sekamar berlima. Salah satunya dengan beliau ini. Beliau ini, wah, saya nggak nyangka aja, sederhana.
Tonya coba diganti yang ada suaranya Pak Rektor, Tonya.
Pak, Pak Willy minta tolong Pak.
Pak Willy,
baik.
Diganti yang ada suaranya. Saya ingin menikmati lagunya enak.
Baik Bapak.
Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia, dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia, dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Terus berpacu dalam keunggulan, lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kesempatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan, dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan, dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan, dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan, dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kesempatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Terus berpacu dalam keunggulan, lincah pembelajar untuk kehidupan. Inilah semangat baru, tekad raih kesempatan, wujudkan kampus terbaik selamanya. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan harapan. Kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia, dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian. Deras arus zaman takkan tertahan, majulah melangkah, oh majulah. Kampus terbaik, inspirasi, tebarkan kampus terbaik, inovasi, wujudkan impian. Kampus terbaik, integritas, kuatkan tujuan. Kampus terbaik, beri terbaik untuk negeri, untuk dunia, umat manusia, dan alam semesta. Mari bersama hadirkan masa depan dalam langkah dan pikiran agar selalu terdepan, berbekal ilmu dan jiwa pengabdian.
Baik Bapak Ibu, mohon izin kita akhiri webinar pada siang hari ini. Mohon izin dan mohon maaf, akan saya tutup webinar room pada siang hari ini. Tidak apa-apa Ibu Ima, Bu Dian?
Tidak apa-apa, silakan Pak Willy, terima kasih
Baik.
banyak.
Baik, terima kasih banyak. Sampai bertemu besok ya Bu.
Ya, terima kasih.